Okay, that's 105. You want to start, Nancy? I think that's
Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first presentation for Lawyer Wellbeing Week. I'm Nancy Steck, and I'm with the New Jersey Lawyers Assistance Program. And first, some housekeeping before we get started. Just so that you know, participants will be muted throughout the session. There will be a Q&A at the end to which you can submit comments and questions in the chat box, the chat area, and you can do that throughout the presentation. We will be keeping track of those and managing those and deal with those at the end of the presentation. If you're encountering any difficulties, technical difficulties during the presentation, you'll need to deal with Zoom to address those because unfortunately we can't. And also to let you know, today's session is being recorded and will be played back at 6 p.m. this evening, followed by a live Q&A. And as we get started, I want to acknowledge the joint effort of the Bar Association's Special Committee on Lawyer Wellbeing, the Young Lawyers Division, and the Lawyers Assistance Program for making this week happen. So thank you for joining us for today's program, 5 Habits that Build Resilience and Enhance Wellbeing. Our speaker is someone some of you may already know from CLE programs and other programs. Noreen Braman has been on staff with Lawyers Assistance for over 10 years and is always a source of both information and inspiration. And I have no doubt that she will be today as well. No matter what our current circumstances are, becoming more resilient is always helpful, as I'm sure today's program will be. And without further ado, Noreen.
Good afternoon. Thank you for all coming. Today's presentation is an introduction to 5 habits that build resilience and enhance well-being, as Nancy said. And each one of these habits could actually be its own seminar. But today, hopefully, I'm going to inspire you to choose 1 or 2 to further explore and incorporate into your life. You know, these days, we're pretty much inundated with all sorts of programs, products, books, diets, equipment, and gurus trying to sell us on the latest physical or mental health fad. 2 of those buzzwords, resilience and well-being, are right there in my title. Even the number 5 is a marketing point. As a strategic communications professional, I know that numbered lists are very attractive in presentations and articles. And the number 5 isn't random either because as a designer, I learned that odd numbers are more attractive. So 5 seemed to be kind of in the middle of not too few and not too many, because a top 10 list would be a little bit too much for us in this presentation. So now that I've revealed all my psychological tricks that I use to get you here, let's get some other tricky things out of the way. First of all, if you haven't already, you want to grab a pen and paper because there are a few writing exercises in this presentation. As we go along, you're going to see some quick tip links on some of the slides. These are links to articles that I have written that pertain to the particular habit we're discussing at that time. But at the end, I will have a slide with a link to all of them and a link actually to where you can download those slides as a PDF. And NGLab will be sending you a post-presentation survey for your feedback. And since this is all new to all of us, we really hope that you would complete that survey for us. So the first thing that I would like to get us on the same page about is the word resilience. You can see that my favorite dictionary, Merriam-Webster, gives us 2 definitions. We're going to be dealing more with the second definition, the ability to recover from or adjust easily to misfortune or change. And I'm hoping that the first definition is more metaphorical for you. The other thing we need to discuss before we start is the difference between wellness and well-being. We hear these terms used interchangeably so often that they've almost lost their meaning. So what helps is if you think of wellness as the whole package. And here's a definition from the National Institute of Health to help us with that. Thinking of, it helps if you think of wellness as the whole package. But I know that often we are given wellness programs or we hear about wellness things, And most of that will focus on physical health, such as how much do you weigh, what's your cholesterol reading, what's your blood pressure. And sometimes what's left out of the picture is mental wellness. And we now know that wellness is the combination of both. So if you see by this, it not only includes the emotional life, but your physical life. So why then do we separate well-being? The thing about well-being is that it is also made up of different parts. Yes, the positive emotion part and your moods and your contentment, the absence of negative emotions, which isn't to mean that negative emotions are not an important part of life, and we'll get more into that more later. But one of the most important things that gets lost in this whole wellness, well-being shuffle is satisfaction with life and having fulfillment and positive functioning. Those are the things that you need for well-being. Now, wellness, like I said, you can consider the whole picture. There are some of us, like myself, who have chronic health conditions, which means wellness may be something we don't have permanently. However, we can achieve well-being. And the thing is that by achieving well-being, you actually will help that physical part of yourself, because well-being helps your brain release helpful hormones such as oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, which not only make you feel good mentally, they help you feel better physically. I have a pain disorder, and I can tell you that when I am doing better well-being wise, it not only relieves my stress, it helps with my pain. The Mayo Clinic is one of my favorite places to go to for research, and they have this wonderful quote here about resilience. And then there's my personal philosophy that today's disaster can be tomorrow's funny story. Of course, there's an equation for this, and you may have heard comedians say this, that tragedy plus time equals comedy. The thing is, sometimes that can take thousands of years. And because right now we don't have any living dinosaurs who can tell us all about that crazy extinction they went through, you might have to rely on someone, say, like Mel Brooks, and the things that he's been able to turn into funny things for us. And I've written more about that, as you could see in the quick tip. So here's what we're going over today. We're going over mindfulness, the difference between mindful, being mindless, or having your mind full, gratitude, understanding your brain on gratitude, your purpose, what it means to have a personal mission and vision, and how that influences the rest of your life. Happiness, another big buzzword. So what it is, what it isn't, why everyone's talking about it. And then the one thing that many of you may already know me for, and that's laughter. We're going to talk about how laughter is a human survival skill, and it's existed with humans since before humans had language. And again, you can see there's a quick tip there down at the bottom. So let's get started. This is an actual quote from an attorney at a previous presentation I did. They saw so much information on mindfulness that it was just, again, becoming meaningless. Now, I'm not saying that this is you, but think about it. This could be your brain. It's not an exact depiction of your brain, but I think it's a pretty accurate mapping of what's going on in our brains pretty much every day. It's not too efficient. If you look closely at this, you'll see that this person is storing images of things they're worrying about in many different parts of their brain. Now, on a computer, we call this redundant backup, and it's a good thing. However, in the human mind, you know that something like the jingle for McDonald's is taking up space in your brain where you would much rather have your ATM password. So, you know, I want you to think about how you can try and get those thoughts a little more organized. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do today is to take your paper and pencil, and I'm going to give you 10 to 15 seconds to write down everything that is occupying your brain right now. Don't put thought to it. Just start writing down the first things that come to your mind, and I'm going to time you. So ready? Go. All right, finish up on your last point there. And I know some of you have pretty long lists. So it's kind of amazing. You see how full your brain is, but yet you can still suffer from this. Are you mindless? You know you've done it. You put your cell phone down, you don't remember where it is. Maybe your significant other has to call you so you can find your phone. Or maybe you've gotten to work and you don't remember driving. Or you automatically started driving to work on a day off. Calling your kids, or worse, your significant other by the wrong name. Recently, a famous politician misremembered the fact that he had 7 grandchildren. And some people thought that this was contributory evidence that perhaps there was a brain pathology at work. Okay, in this instance only, I have to say, I understand it. As a grandmother and a mother, there may have come a time where I didn't remember birth dates and birth order, and I know for sure that I called my kids by the wrong names, and I would tell them, don't laugh, I'm going to remember who you are soon, and then you're really in trouble. One of the tests for cognitive deficits, when we start worrying about this mindlessness, is that it's not so much of a red flag if you forget where you left your keys. That can be more an issue of not being mindful. However, if you actually forget what keys are, that is the red flag. So you can have some comfort in that, if as long as you still, okay, I don't know where my keys are, but I know that they're for the car. So now you know your brain is both full and empty at the same time, and along comes somebody talking about this. Mindfulness meditation. A few years ago, I remember that there was a lot of talk about meditation. Maybe someone gave you a secret mantra to meditate on, or maybe you chanted something in a group. Of course, meditation is a well-documented ancient practice with many benefits, and you could spend years studying it. Recently, this has turned to focus on mindfulness meditation. Basically, the same kind of practice with some modernization and some hype. The more basic form starts off with you concentrating or being mindful of your breath. While not pushing thoughts out of your head, you learn how to notice them, but not interact with them, as if they were leaves blowing by in the wind. You are bringing your attention away from the outside world, away from your own thoughts, and even at some point, away from the sensations in your own body. The best definition that I found was on the Very Well website, where they describe mindfulness as this way. Mindfulness techniques can vary, but in general, mindfulness meditation involves a breathing practice, mental imagery, awareness of body and mind, and muscle and body relaxation. So it can be a wonderful source of stress management. However, incorporating being mindful into your daily life is a little different. Normally, when I am in a corporate setting, I ask people to close their eyes and reduce their attention to the immediate surroundings. Maybe they're in a conference room. Maybe they've been in this conference room 100 times. Since most of you are in familiar surroundings, asking you questions about your surroundings with your eyes closed really doesn't make the point here. But I've been in conference rooms where people don't remember the color of the carpeting, don't remember the art that's on the wall, don't even remember who they just sat down next to. And this is the places where they've been, like I said, many times before. So I'm going to lead you in a short mindfulness meditation that has grown out of recent experiences people have been having while working from home. So I don't know how many of you have been working from home, and it's been a little disorienting for those of us who have been. And one of the things that we're having trouble with is orienting ourselves in time and place. So I'd like you to close your eyes and slowly take 3 deep breaths. Breathe in and out. Breathe in and out. And one more time, breathe in and out. Now, take a deep breath in, and when you breathe out, say what day today is. So like this, breathe in. Today is. One more time, breathe in. Today is. The next breath, you're going to say today's date. Breathe in and out. Today's date is. One more time, breathe in. Out. Today's date is. The last part is to breathe in and say, I am here. Breathe in, out, I am here. Breathe in again. Breathe out, I am here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take one more deep breath and we're going to repeat all 3 things. Breathe in. Today is. Today's date is. And I am here. Take one more very deep breath. Hold it. Blow it out through your mouth. And you can open your eyes. What we've just done is a very simple but powerful way to orient yourself in time. You've allowed yourself to pay attention to nothing but that. You've calmed your mind and your body in a meditative way, which helps release those beneficial hormones. Why is this important? Am I being mindful? Doing a short orientation exercise can help you with perhaps the most important thing, and that is being mindful. We've discussed the 2 full mind, the empty mind, and the meditative mind. All of these elements contribute to help you live mindfully. What do I mean by that? Most of us at any given time are living in one of 2 places, the future or the past. Those of you who are here today may be thinking about what you were just doing and what you have to do when this is over. You may not be living in the present moment. This lack of living in the moment is so important that societies have to do things to remind you of where you are at various parts of the day. For example, in the train station, people must be reminded to mind the gap, to watch where they're walking when getting into a train. You came to the train station. You've been on the train 100 times, but yet you are not being mindful of what you are doing and need to be reminded. So one of the things we all need to practice is being present, noticing where we are, thinking about what we are doing at this minute, and taking that little extra time to just center yourself. That's putting mindfulness practices into everyday use. You can do your meditations, which will help you become more mindful, and you can still suffer from those where are my keys moments. But the more you practice being present, the better you'll be. And in fact, I sometimes, when I get home from work, actually say to myself, I'm hanging my keys on the hook out loud. Because again, that will cement it into your memory. And this orientation exercise can really help. The next habit we're going to talk about is gratitude. Now, I know many of us were raised up with manners, saying please and thank you, not saying can I, but may I, things like that. Someone brings you a glass of water, holds the door for you, cuts you off in traffic. You have varying levels of gratitude response to those things. However, as a well-being habit, you need to put in a little bit more effort. So it's more than good manners. It needs to be intentional. So appreciation is a form of gratitude. We show appreciation to others. Notes to someone for great service. But even more than that, think of the people in your life that you appreciate and sometimes take for granted. Have you written a thank you note to your significant other lately? How about a relative or a friend? It doesn't have to be elaborate, just a sincere expression of appreciation. Feeling appreciation for circumstances is most powerful when you take time to notice and savor. Appreciate the sun. Yesterday we had sunshine. I appreciated feeling that. Notice the beauty of a sunset on your daily commute. Not as so much that you drive off the road, but say, wow, that's a beautiful sunset, and then watch the car in front of you. How about an evening with all your family members getting along with each other? There's a circumstance you can appreciate. Now, we gain an appreciation of things that are more intangible, an appreciation of art, an appreciation of music, an appreciation of sports. All those things, poetry, toy trains, whatever it is, you have an appreciation of those things. Another way to express gratitude is by giving back. We know from functional MRIs that certain parts of the brain associated with good feeling light up when you give back or express feelings of gratitude. We also know that that feeling doesn't last a very long time. So in a way, the brain might be encouraging you to do more of it. And in that, you have a socially bonding exercise. One way to, and also don't forget to thank yourself, because many of us are trudging through our daily life every day and not thanking ourselves for the sacrifices we have made, for the things that we do, for the extra effort, or just thank ourselves for being present for our own self, which we need to do. One way to give your brain the benefits of gratitude is to think of 3 things every day you're grateful for at the end of the day. This is also a good mindfulness exercise as you focus your mind on gratitude and push the day's stress to the side. Some people keep gratitude journals, and it really is a great thing to have. You know, some people put notes in a jar of things they're grateful for, and on New Year's Eve they go and look through that and spend some time reviewing all the wonderful experiences they had during the year. And I know sometimes the not so wonderful experiences tend to crowd out those good ones. We're going to talk about that too. So tonight, spend some time just thinking about 3 things that you are grateful for today. The reality of this is there are going to be days where the only thing you're grateful for is that the day is over. And that is absolutely fine. We've all had those days. We just can't wait to get into bed at night, close our eyes, and put it all out of our heads. That is completely legitimate. So for this habit, before we move on to the next one, I want you to take your paper and pen and practice having gratitude by writing down one thing that you are grateful for this very moment. Okay, moving on to our next well-being habit. This well-being habit has a special name in Japan. It's called ikigai. And roughly translated, it means a reason to get up in the morning. Some of you may have been at the Law Center when I did my first workshop on writing your personal mission statement. You may remember that it was not an easy task. It required a lot of self-examination and some pretty tough writing exercises. Today, we are going to just scratch the surface of what a personal mission statement is and why you need one. So a personal mission statement not only helps you define your values and goals, but how those values and goals create you as the person, employee, family member, or world citizen. So your mission statement is rooted in your personal values and also the vision you have. And while that doesn't sound so serious, studies are now revealing that this sense of purpose, this ikigai, may be more responsible for longevity and health than any of the other practices, physical, mental, or emotional, that you can adopt. The deep thinking and writing of self-discovery leads to defining mission and vision statements that are deceptively simple. However, sitting down to actually write out answers to those questions can open up a new path of self-discovery, and you need to allow yourself the time to do that. So here are some questions to consider. The reason why you have a mission and a vision statement is because your vision is your ultimate goal, the perfect scenario. My life will have accomplished this, or this is what my life will be doing. And your mission statement is, well, how am I going to get there? One of the things that we did in our mission and vision workshop was asking all the participants to write their own eulogy. Now that might sound like a sad or a morbid thing to do, but it's not meant to be that way. It's rather to change your perspective, to consider what others would say about you and what they would remember about your life. It can lead to a better understanding of what you have been spending your time with up until this point, and it can help you better define your path going forward. Here's a very, very simple mission and vision statement. So this person has a vision of no person should ever be without a friend. And to accomplish that, they're going to use their people skills to be everyone's friend. Of course, this is kind of a universal statement of like world peace or whatever. But again, think about it in the smaller sense. This is the thing that could help you be more compassionate, more understanding, more open to change, and more willing to listen to other people's opinions. So this deceptively simple mission and vision statement can really be something to embed into your personality. Here are other questions to consider. And one thing I'd like to mention, because it has come up in previous seminars that I've done, while you would like your career and your paid work to be aligned with your mission and vision, it may not always happen. You may have to find work that is adjacent to your mission and vision, or you may have to pursue your mission and vision on your own time in independent activities. However, it's also a known fact that very often when a person is extremely unhappy with their work or career, it may be because they can find no points of alignment with their job, their career, and their mission and vision. This is very difficult, even for people who are very successful and making a lot of money at something. So understanding your own mission and vision and trying to find those alignments can be very important for the job you have now, even if you're considering a job you may have in the future. And sometimes it may only be that part of your vision for yourself is that no matter what you do, you're going to do a good job. And the Dalai Lama has a great advice about that. He's very famous for telling people that if you are the sweeper, that you should be the best sweeper that there ever was. The thing that people forget is what he said after that. However, there may come a time where it's just not enough for you and you need to move on. So that's from The Art of Happiness at Work. Highly recommend that. So here's our next well-being habit, happiness. Happiness has probably been the most maligned concept in modern day discussions. I've even taken a course called The Science of Happiness. And the founders of the United States, as we know, thought it was so important that they included it in the Declaration of Independence that you have the right to pursue happiness. I think that's because they understood that happiness is an elusive state, the definition of which depends on an infinite number of variables. But the recent focus on happiness has created what some have called the happiness industry. Thousands of program instructors, coaches, and mental health practitioners clamoring to teach you how to be happy. Some have even said that this industry is forcing people to pretend to be happy just to get along, and that negative emotions are forbidden. So let's break this down a little bit. First of all, you cannot depend on happiness falling out of the sky. By this I mean living in the world of, if I only had this, I'd be happy. If I only got that, I'd be happy. Even lottery winners who are ecstatic when they first win settle down to their same previous level of contentment and happiness that they had before winning the lottery. And some people living in the worst conditions imaginable will still describe themselves as happy. It's a perspective thing. It really is. So happiness may be more about contentment and optimism than getting something, reaching somewhere, or having something. We do know lack of money is detrimental to happiness. If you have to spend all your time just trying to survive, that's very bad for your wellness, your well-being, and every aspect of your life. Yet we do know that over a certain amount, your happiness levels don't change all that much. So the recent happiness culture and the positive psychology movement are not about denying or ignoring other emotions. It is building up a resilience for when things are tough. And here's a ratio to remember, 3 to 5. For every 3 negative things you have in your life happen, you need 5 positive things to balance that out for your well-being. This is why sometimes when you're having loads of negative experiences, you just feel like you cannot get out of a hole because the ratio is off. In this case, you may have to employ some of these other well-being habits to help you balance those negative things. So, how do you find things to be happy about? It's more about how can you reframe things to realize that you found happiness in something that you just took for granted. The Society of Happy People created this poster called the 31 Types of Happiness. The idea is to take one aspect of happiness a day and think about if you've had any experiences that could fall under that category. So what I would like you to do right now is I am going to just randomly pick out one of these types of happiness. And while I'm switching over to the next slide, I'd like you to write down something that happened in your life that made you happy related to that. And for example, all right, I'll use the easy one, humor, okay? When was the last time I laughed and how did that make me feel? That's a humor-related type of happiness. But let me give you a little bit more difficult one. Let's see. How about valued? What has happened in your life associated with the word valued that gave you happiness? Write that down. I'll give you a few seconds. All right, so now we come to International Language of Laughter. And I have to turn 2 pages here. This is the area where I've spent a lot of time studying and practicing. I started out by learning about laughter yoga and laughter wellness, which are active programs that use laughter as an exercise that does not rely on jokes or comedy. Some of you have been to some of the sessions that I've done for the Networkers Group and also in CLE programs. As a member of the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor, I've learned about the serious science of the study of laughter. Anthropologists now know that laughter existed prior to actual spoken language. And it wasn't at all about jokes or things being funny. Instead, it was a way of one Neanderthal showing the other Neanderthal that I am harmless, I'm friendly, and we can get along. Even today, we know that more laughter comes out of conversations between people than through jokes. When you laugh with people, most especially with your significant other, you strengthen bonds with them. And the great thing about laughter is it not only has well-being issues, it has wellness issues that it helps you with. As a cross-brain activity, just like exercise, involves both parts of your brain. It can push stress to the side. It can temporarily keep the brain so occupied that you have real relief from stress and anxiety. I'm sure that many of you have at one time or another laughed so hard you became breathless or your sides hurt. This is really the evidence that laughter is a physical process. So including more laughter in your life is more about maybe finding the funny and not being the funny. Funny movies, funny books, and like I said, laughter in regular conversation. Jokes, not necessarily the best way to share laughter. We know that jokes in the workplace can get a lot of people in trouble. And any joke that takes target at a person, a group, a belief system, etc., is just out. So I recommend laughing for no reason. And because of this, especially during this difficult time, I created a mindful laughter meditation. So it takes about 10 minutes, and we're not going to do it from here. However, this is what Loma Linda University's Lee Burke says about joyful laughter. It actually produces the same effect as meditation. So there you go. Laughing, meditation, 2 ways to really help yourself. If you'd like to try this laughter meditation, here are 2 links that you can go to. But I don't want to leave you without any kind of example. In fact, it was one of the things in my last presentation that people said, hey, what about this laughter yoga stuff? So I'm going to do what I do in lawyer CLEs. I'm going to give you a quick understanding of what a laughter yoga, laughter wellness exercise is. What we're going to do is we're going to think about where laughter lives in our body. All right. Now, laughter does live in different parts of our body, and that has to do with the way we breathe. Most of us during the day are breathing here in our bronchial passages and maybe the upper part of our lungs. Talking, breathing here all the time is why you get hoarse when you've done a lot of talking. You lose your voice after screaming at a sporting event. If you learn to breathe in other parts of your respiratory system, that might not happen. So let's find out where those parts of your respiratory system are by using laughter. The first laughter word we know is ho. Ho, ho, ho. Okay, you know, that guy in the malls every December does a lot of this, okay? And he's also associated with holding a certain part of his anatomy, his belly. That's because ho, ho, ho comes from your diaphragm. So please, please try this. I know I can't see you or hear you, but please try it. And if there's anyone else in your house who wants to come over and try it with you, call them over, especially if it's kids, because they love this. So, all right, we're going to think of our belly underneath our diaphragm as the place we're going to breathe from, and we're going to take a deep breath and feel your belly move. So breathe in. Okay, and then when you breathe out, you're going to do ho, ho, ho. Ready? So breathe in. Ho, ho, ho. I know some of you are going ho, 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 but that's not the point. You have to really think about the way cheerleaders yell. This is what they're doing. So ready? Breathe in. Ho, ho, ho. One more time. Breathe in. Ho, ho, ho. Now, the second laughter sound is ha, ha, ha. We can think of ha, ha, ha as living in the bottom part of our lungs. Again, another spot we don't use too often. So place your hands at the bottom, above your diaphragm, but at the bottom part of where you think your lungs are. Take a deep breath in. Ha, ha, ha. Try that again. Once. In you go. Ha, ha, ha. Try it one more time for good measure. Breathe in. Ha, ha, ha. Excellent. So now you know where two of the laughter sounds live. The third one is the easiest one for all of us because this is where we are most of the time anyway. He lives right up here. In fact, you will probably feel if you put your hand lightly on your throat, you'll feel the vibration. So now you're going to take a deep breath in and he. One more time, breathe in. He. One more time, breathe in. He. Okay, so now you learned that, but that really wasn't the exercise. The exercise is we start with the ho, 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 move to the ha, 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 go to the he, and then the most important part. You cannot forget this. You raise your hands. Look how mine disappear. And you say, whee! Why? Because we can. And I think it's kind of funny how my arms disappear. So ready? Ho, 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 ha, 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 he, wee. Ready? Go. Ho, 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 ha, 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 he, wee! One more time. Ho, 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 ha, 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 he, wee! Okay, this is something to do, especially those of you with small children and families stuck at home. All do this together and do it while you're looking each other in the eyes. Not only can that precipitate real honest to goodness laughter, but it serves as a bonding mechanism with your loved ones. So imagine doing exercises like that for 45 minutes. Don't tell me it's not exercise. And, okay, so here's the other part, the scientific stuff for you to remember. The Mayo Clinic gave us this lovely chart where it tells us about the physical advantages and the psychological advantages of laughter. As we just demonstrated, it enhances your intake of oxygen, stimulates your heart, your lungs, and your muscles, and increases those endorphins being released by your brain. Psychological, it improves your mood. Laughter does help you improve your mood. And again, the effects don't last for days, meaning that you have to laugh again. Your body wants it. Laughter can relieve pain. I talked a little bit about that earlier in the presentation. I have to tell you, when I do a laughter yoga presentation, it really gives me pain relief for many hours afterwards. It can increase your personal satisfaction. Again, this is a well-being skill because it helps build that resilience and helps you deal better with difficult situations and also bond with people. Remember the 3 to 5 ratio. Soothes tensions. It is really more difficult, not impossible, but it is more difficult to disagree, be combative, or aggressive with people you have just been laughing with. And overall, both physically and psychologically, laughter improves your immune system. We also know that there is some evidence for helping with lowering blood pressure and helping diabetics control blood sugar. So there you go. It's the perfect well-being habit. Wellness and well-being all wrapped up in one. So many of these things are discussed in the materials that are available from the ABA's Lawyer Wellbeing Project that they worked on with the Lawyers Assistance Programs Committee. In fact, I've done a presentation and a workshop with some young lawyers exploring the toolkit, and you can see the worksheets here. Many of the things we've just talked about are in these worksheets, and there's great exercises and reading materials that you can use to help you with that. And I thought it was particularly interesting that they went through public speaking anxiety, which I think is an under-recognized issue for attorneys. You can go to NJLAP's website to download these things. The web pages are up there. And this slide will be available as a PDF. This goes to my quick tip about 7 ways to put yourself on the clock for 6 minutes. That came from one lawyer telling me in a presentation that he has no time for well-being stuff because he has to bill in 6-minute increments. So what I've suggested for him and others to do is in that article. So you can download further information all here, read different things. And this top link, I'm going to leave up here while we deal with questions and answers if there are any. If you go to that, you can get a PDF of these 2 slides. The links are live as long as you download it to your computer, not try and read it from your browser. And with that, we are going to ask Nancy to come back and we're going to handle any questions that you might have. So Nancy, you need to unmute your video. And
I know, I just lost myself, sorry.
Here you go.
Okay. We don't have any questions waiting. So if anybody has anything that they would like to pose, please feel free to do that now. One of the exercises that came to mind for me listening to you, Noreen, doing the ha ha ho ho he he, is something that we used to do as kids, which was lay on the floor with our heads on each other's stomach And the first person would say ha once, the second person would say ha ha, the third person would say ha ha ha. And we got maybe up to the fourth or fifth person if we were lucky, before just breaking up completely and not being able to control ourselves, as little kids
Yeah,
are do.
that is actually used in laughter yoga sessions and other things like that on the floor. There's also, you can stand back to back with someone and again, just try and say laughter words. And the very fact that you're touching backs with each other and you can feel each other laugh also can really precipitate. And the thing that I didn't mention, and thank you for reminding me, is that your brain does not know the difference between real laughter and simulated laughter. So if you're just like doing the ha ha ha, ho ho ho, he like we did, that's not, you know, rolling over on the floor laughing laughter, but yet your brain doesn't know the difference. It says, okay, we're laughing, let's release endorphins. In fact, it works just for smiling. So smiling when you don't feel like it can also help your brain be fooled into releasing some endorphins and making you feel better.
And smiling at another person, if I remember correctly, sets off mirror neurons. And even if they don't smile back immediately, there's something that's triggered in our brains because we recognize the feeling that's behind the expression, even if those, it may only be a small micro expression, as it's called. So you can help somebody smile simply by smiling at them and lighting up their mirror neurons. And we do have a question. How can I use these 5 things to break up the day sitting at my desk at home?
That's a very good question. So I would say, first of all, don't think of having to use all 5 things at once. Pick something that appeals to you. So for example, if you like the idea of adding more laughter to your life, take a break while you're working and watch. Okay, everybody loves funny memes, and there's ones that, you know, are going to appeal to you. But those things are really not just time wasters, but they're actually good ways to sort of break up your day and give yourself some humor. The other thing you can do is just go and find, I know we don't have newspapers with comics anymore, but you can find comics still on the internet. And I remember back in the day, in my office at a previous employer, we used to share Dilbert comics all the time. So pick something like that. And if it's gratitude that you want to focus on, stop what you're doing, especially if it's being stressful or if it's a difficult situation. Step back and write down a couple of things you're grateful for. So take little steps with each of these things, not all 5 at once. Pick the things that speak to you best, and you can do that right at your desk. You can also do a laughter yoga exercise at your desk without anybody knowing, as long as you're breathing. You can do this. As long as you're breathing, you are telling your brain that you're laughing, and you'll get some endorphins. And, you know, the person in the office next door to you is not going to come over and say, what's all this laughing about?
There's also, just to add maybe number 6 in there, an incredible amount of research that talks about our connection with nature and how disconnected we are from it, and how going back, just being outside, feeling the wind in your hair, and again, just being mindful of the sounds, the feelings, the sun, the warmth of being, you know, outside in nature can be immensely helpful, and that can happen in a matter of a couple of minutes.
Yeah, there's a lot been written about that, and that not only is a standalone well-being practice, but it also touches on gratitude when we talked about being grateful for circumstances and savoring something like sunshine and fresh air. And I think many of us who've been kind of isolated and homebound for a while are really suddenly appreciating the outdoors like maybe we never did before.
There are also some suggestions coming in. Take a hike. It's a physical, which is the topic of today. Get into nature during lunch, you know, either from the office or from home. So just taking some time of your quote unquote lunch hour and using it in that way. Absolutely. I think we're just about at 2 o'clock. And unless we have some other questions, I just want to thank Noreen for a wonderful presentation. No questions, so you must have covered everything really thoroughly, so thank you. And thank you for the view into laughter yoga. And somebody just from the audience just thanked us both as well.
You're very
So from me, just have a wonderful day, and I hope you can join us for the rest of the week. We're delving into mindfulness tomorrow and doing a body scan tomorrow evening and some other wonderful topics during the rest of the week. So please hope to see you tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, if we're lucky. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And join us, like Nancy said, for other things during the week. We have great speakers coming. And if you can't make it in the daytime, we're repeating them at 6 o'clock recorded.
Great.
Take care. I'm going to end the meeting.